Welcome back to Otaku Daikun. It's time for another episode of Anime Surge, where I give rapid-fire recommendations of various anime, both new and old, on a scale from legendary anime you should all own and obsess over, to abysmal anime I genuinely wish didn't exist. Each recommendation is accompanied by an adorable Nero. A few seasons have passed by since the last episode, so we've got a lot to cover. Commence! My Hero Academia. Of course, this show is nothing new, and is well beloved by many. I stayed away like a damn hipster, not wanting to be overcome by its hype. But after finally diving in and catching up to the current season, I can confirm this show's good stuff. It's a shonen, sure, but I couldn't care less about that. It tells the story of a good-hearted kid who wants to be a hero, but sadly doesn't have any powers, which they call quirks. Regardless, he's brave and ambitious, being recognized by his role model, and inheriting one of the greatest quirks of them all. This kiddo, nicknamed Deku, starts his training at a renowned hero academy, gaining all sorts of diverse and endearing allies as he grows to take on the League of Villains. For one of those shows whose story seems like it could go on forever, it has pleasantly high production values and an appealing art style. My recommendation? Great. Definitely check it out if it seems interesting to you. Maoyu Yusha. This one's got a brilliant premise. Our hero, aptly named Yusha, has finally reached the end of his quest to save the land from demons by confronting the demon lord Mao with his party of brave warriors. Rather than the ultimate showdown, however, he discovers that the demon lord is a beautiful woman who's got the hots for him. She reveals that the war between humans and demons is actually serving to unify humanity, such that if it were to end, many human domains would be unable to survive on their own. Thus, the hero and the final boss actually team up to save the world by cultivating various human kingdoms and communities. As awesome as this sounds, it's short-lived and loses traction quickly, never telling the full story. The pacing accelerates to the point where it's nearly impossible to keep track of characters and their motivations, leaving the drama lost under a bed of vague political and economic jargon. My recommendation is flawed. You can find better elsewhere, which is a shame since it has stellar visuals and a moving soundtrack. Kimi ni Todoke. When this show was airing, people were blown away, but its impact seems to have waned. Kimi ni Todoke is a charming romance between a popular boy, Shota, and the school's most misunderstood, socially inept girl, Sawako. It does best in showing how Sawako, who is nicknamed Sadako from The Ring by her peers, learns to understand and interact with others, making new friends and developing her feelings. For most of its runtime, it's adorably sweet, but stumbles towards the end by losing progress. For an already slow, frail romance, this show's final season comes to a screeching halt and leaves me wanting more. And no, that doesn't mean I'm just gonna go read the manga instead. It's a nice ride, however, and I'd recommend it as great to anyone looking for something simple and sweet. One Punch Man. Oh, this show is so cool. It's self-aware and exploiting and subverting conventional tropes of the hero genre. That's what most people say. And while they're not wrong, I doubt One Punch Man would be as popular if that's all it did. In the anime, normal citizen Saitama develops an ultimate training regimen to become a hero. He succeeds, but winds up losing a sense of purpose because he's become so strong that he can defeat any opponent with a single punch. Thus, he casually pursues stronger opponents, hoping to meet his match in combat. It's the comical story of quite possibly the world's most capable hero not being recognized or taken seriously for his immense strength. My recommendation? Amazing. Deconstruction or not, it's a unique story with great action and comedic potential. Macross Frontier. Thanks to a lack of localization, Macross hasn't gotten the international love it deserves, especially its brilliant Frontier incarnation. I never would have thought that Yoko Kanno and idol diva music would be such a euphoric combination. Long story short, Macross Frontier is a space opera where mankind fights an alien race called the Vajra. And part of the war is waged alongside the mysterious singing powers of two phenomenal idols, the charismatically sexy Cheryl Nome and the sweet, adorable Ranka Lee. For the sake of spectacle, I recommend it as amazing. Though there is a catch. Macross Frontier is told as an episodic anime series, as well as a set of 2 movies. While very similar, the show actually has a different story than the movies. It almost feels like the movies are a different plot route of the story. Different characters live and die, and the romance plot is resolved quite differently. Since they each have different songs and iconic moments, I recommend watching both. The Fruit of Grisaya. By Fruit of Grisaya, I'm actually referring to the entire franchise, including Eden and Labyrinth. This is an animated adaptation of a series of visual novels centering around Yuji Kazami, a military-trained assassin who's trying to live a normal high school life alongside a class of girls who also have complicated backgrounds. In form, it's a harem dating sim, and the anime tries to cover all the girls' stories in a single route, which surprisingly works. I found the plot to be pretty ridiculous, but also hella entertaining. I'm a fan of both the novel and the anime, and hope you might be as well. I recommend it as great for those seeking a comedic, dramatic, sexual, and certainly unique harem anime. Be aware that it has some very dark moments, which I actually think are my favorites. Occult 9. From the producer of such works as Chaos Child, Robotics Notes, and Steins Gate, we have another bizarrely titled anime which you'd anticipate being just as good. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. In it we have a group of teenagers who gather out of a mutual connection to the occult in order to investigate and unveil the mystery behind a series of murders and a suspicious mass suicide. Sounds awesome, yeah? Well, sadly, the way the story's told is overly confusing and tends to alienate the audience, making it hard to connect to characters and their struggles. It doesn't help that all the characters literally talk about 70% faster than any normal human would. This isn't to say the story doesn't make sense, but rather it conveys its complexity at the expense of more genuine character development. My recommendation? Flawed. I've certainly seen better. And not even Ryoka and her gargantuan tatas can change that. Valkyria Chronicles. I love Valkyria Chronicles. The games, that is. With the 4th entry in the series out in Japan and heading westward this year, you might be interested in experiencing where the series began. For that, I'd tell you to just skip the anime version, honestly. The story's mostly the same. The peaceful nation of Gallia is forced to arm itself when being invaded by the dreaded Imperial Alliance. Our hero, Welkin, is a humble scholar who winds up commanding his own squad in the Gallian militia, and his knowledge of nature helps his squad achieve victory in dire situations. However, like many video game adaptations, I can't help but feel the anime is a downgrade in both storytelling and visuals. My recommendation? Bad. Certain beloved moments, key dramatic events, are either missing, sloppily rewritten, or simply lack the same sincerity or payoff that they had in the game. Hoseki no Kuni, Land of the Lustrous. Thanks to shows like Berserk, we tend to be pretty speculative when it comes to anime created using heavy CG. But Hoseki no Kuni is one of the ideal cases where CG brings its world to life far better than traditional animation could. The story's whimsical, following a group of anthropomorphized jewels who have to constantly patrol and battle against divine Lunarians from the moon who want to capture them for their beauty. These jewels are gorgeous, and their 3D models wonderfully capture their texture and luminescence. Needless to say, it's an anime unlike any other, and I recommend it as amazing. There's 1 season right now while the manga is ongoing. Let's hope for the best, as this show needs all the love it deserves. Made in Abyss. Once again, I've saved the best for last. Many sites and polls have ranked Made in Abyss as the #1 anime of 2017, and I can absolutely agree. It's the ideal adventure anime, taking place in a breathtaking world where humans descend into a deep and treacherous cavity in the earth to discover its secrets, as well as retrieve ancient technology. Riko is a young girl whose mother, Liza, is a famous diver. Hearing news that her mother has gone missing, presumed dead, Riko makes it her mission to reach the very bottom of the abyss to hopefully meet her mother. To do that, she befriends and relies upon a strange robotic boy named Regu. These 2 children, and others in the cast, endure dangers and traumas far more profound than anyone should have to face. And in the wake of such hardship, we find absolute beauty. Be ready to have your emotions tugged from all directions. As it currently stands, the series is incomplete, but assuming it ultimately gets a conclusion, then I easily recommend it as legendary.
要は楽しい
Do not let this one pass you by. There you have it, another 10 anime that I found worth reporting to you all, for better or worse. What do you think? Have you seen any of these anime? Have I convinced you to check any of them out? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a patron of the channel so I can afford to bring you even better, more frequent content. Don't forget to subscribe to Otaku Daikun for more anime lists, reviews, discussions, lore videos, let's plays, and holy waifu wars. Until next time, celebrate your fandom.